regular meeting of the Port of Palm Beach Commission to start. Then I'm asking for roll call, please.
Chair Jean Enright.
Present.
Vice Chair Peyton MacArthur.
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Kathy Waldron. Commissioner Wayne Richards.
Here.
Commissioner Blair Sigler. Executive Director Manuel Almira.
I'm here.
Port Counsel Gregory Taylor.
Here.
We have a forum.
Please just stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Now, this is called the commissioners. We're going to executive session with our attorneys present. Will be Commissioner Blair Sigler, Commissioner Peyton MacArthur, Commissioner Wayne Richards, Commissioner Catherine Waldron, our Executive Director, Mr. Manny Amira, Mr. Don Rappel, Mr. Ray Pickens, and our court reporter, Susan Kruger. Now, we would ask for an adjournment in order for us to go into executive session. We will return after the session. Recess. And we will return with our regular meeting. Thank you. This is a continuation of our regular work meeting. We're going to now meetings from the last meeting. Meetings from the last meeting.
This is your microphone on? We can't hear you.
I need to have approval for the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Now, let's go down to deletions, presentations, and announcements. First, we're going to, for presentations, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, commissioners, under trying to bring out the actual vacation, yes. Under H1, there will be a presentation made by State Representative Al Jaquette, and I'm just wondering if you are willing to wait and discuss that at this appropriate time, or should we bring them up now?
Well, what we can do, let's rearrange the agenda right now.
Okay.
And we can just take H1 first, and then after H1, then we can continue and then go back up to the consent agenda, because there's some items I would like to have pulled on that, which then we'll continue with the rest of it. Is that okay? Okay, let's do it that way, because we might have different discussions. So now, Mr. Mayor, let's go to, yes.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carried. Mr. Mayor, H1, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, and good afternoon to all. H1, Commissioners, in front of you is a sister port agreement between the Port of Palm Beach and the Port of Aviation Terminal in country Haiti. We were approached and spoke with Representative Al Jaquette, and he is extremely interested in bringing a group from that terminal, that port, and possibly sign a sister seaport or a city agreement between the two entities. With that, we have several members of a delegation from Mr. Jaquette's office, and I'd like to ask, is it okay with the board, to bring Representative Al Jaquette?
Yes, come on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this afternoon with you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Al Jaquette, and I've had the honor to represent District 88 that covers Delray Beach, Boynton, Lake Worth, Lantana, West Palm Beach, Revere Beach, Mangonia Park, and Lake Park. And within that wonderful, the pearl of the state of Florida, sits this port. One of the things that I've learned over the years, having worked in the House's staff, having been a local elected official in the great city of Delray, is the amount of business that we do between the Port of Palm Beach and Haiti. The amount of Haitian Americans we have living here in this county who take advantage of our cruises, who take advantage of our shipping opportunities here in this great port. We also know that Haitian Americans are the largest immigrant population here in our great county. Some of you have visited and frequented Haiti and have done a lot with Haiti and for Haiti and the Haitian Americans living here. And so with that in mind, we considered establishing a relationship for our staff here to be able to best understand the business that they're doing with Haiti. Where do those cars go when we ship them? Where do those bales of clothing go? I think it's important for us to know, not to be nosy, but in order for us to better serve the community that we're serving. In the same regard, it's important for the receiving country, who's receiving all these goods from their relatives living here in Palm Beach County. It's good for them to know where they're coming from, how we operate. And I think this is going to be in your court, commissioners. This is not a relationship detailed by me or anyone else. This is asking you today, do you think that is a relationship you would like to have? The details of the relationship will be determined by you. What do you want? Do you want an exchange of ideas? Do you want, I don't know exactly what you will want out of it, but I think the relationship, that highway is important to have. How you use it will be up to you. And so we do have some folks here today who came, who do quite a bit of business with the country of Haiti. I actually met them in Haiti when I was down there, and then we met back up here. A number of folks who may want to speak if you have any questions. So we really thank you for entertaining this sister city with Cap Nation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, commissioners, as we have done with other sister seaport, the normal process would be to have them visit us, where we can provide a port tour, and then we can do as the state representative mentioned, we can exchange ideas. Something that he said that's so simple to say, how about if we just meet? We haven't done that. So therefore, I embrace it, but I ask the board to provide direction of what type of relationship we're going to have.
First, since we do, presently, we do have a relationship with Port-au-Prince, am I correct?
We have checked.
Saint Mark and Ghana in Haiti. And we would be more than happy to extend an invitation. And I would like to see representatives from the port to visit our port first. And that's how we normally do it. And then with their visit, and we can exchange information. Commissioner Sickman?
Would it be possible for someone from, that deals with the port, tell us a little bit about the port, because I've never been there, and I'd love to hear someone at least tell us a little bit more on what goes in there and what goes out of there, so that would be great.
Thank you, Commissioner. So folks who are familiar with doing business with the port.
And also, if you can tell us how it differs from the other two ports there.
Good evening. My name is Fred Billiot. I am from Cape Haitian. We are the owner of the only exclusive terminal port, container terminal in Cape Haitian. We have only one container terminal in Cape Haitian. We are small, making about 700 containers per month. We are receiving 3 shipping lines today per week. King Ocean, Antillean Marine, and CMS Jamie. All of them are coming, all 3, they are coming in the week. The Port of Cape Haitian doesn't own any equipment. We, the terminal, we own all the equipment on the port. We're not the port authority, but we are the one managing everything at the port. We own the cranes, top loaders, chassis, everything at the port, forklifts. And we've been there with the port authority for about 20 years. We really looking for assistance to improve. We just order a restocker to get we just order a restocker so we can get provide better service.
And so this is the operator. And so what I would like to do, as your director mentions, and as I think you're requesting, is the Port Authority themselves, the folks who own the port, and the folks who actually control the business that is done through the port, who operates it and who does not. I think you want to speak directly to those folks. And what I would like to do is not only invite them over, and I think with your direction, if your staff drafts a letter of invitation, my staff will do the same, and we can invite all the key individuals to be here. We happen to have one of the business folks who are here, but all the key individuals will make sure that they're here to have those conversations. Again, it's a willingness to have that relationship. And I think once you speak with the proper individuals, you will know how best to tailor that relationship.
Now, so my understanding is that you're offering us an opportunity on behalf of the Port Authority. So you've already spoken to them?
Yes, Commissioner, yes.
Okay.
We have gone down to Haiti, we have met with Customs, with the Port Authority individuals. This was something they were very, very interested in. And my staff did reach out to your staff at the time, simply to let them know that this was something that they were interested in, we thought was good. And so we were very, very excited to see that your staff did not drop the ball, they kept working on it. And now today it's in front
How
of
many
us.
ports are there in Haiti? How many ports?
I wish I could answer that off the top of your head. I can tell you in my district how many there are.
He knows.
Five, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Can you recognize the other people that came?
Yes, and this is, he's part of Caldwell. Andrew, please come introduce yourself. His wife, like he's on university or something. He's excited to.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Cadwell. We have a company over there called Cadwell Electric SA. We are, in a sense, looking to be the FPL of Haiti. We're coming in to provide renewable energy at 60 megawatts to power for the first time the Haitian community 24/7. And the goal is to reduce the cost of electricity by half. And that's actually how I met my partner Fred at the Port of Carthage. My other partner is also my wife and my boss, Joanne Cadwell. She's been in the business her whole entire life. We also have a distribution company throughout the Caribbean countries, and we work directly with the utility companies and those governments as well. Thank you.
Jackie? Oh, you already speak yourself? Oh.
Good afternoon, my name is Pierrette. I am the delegate for UNAP. I received an email from Commissioner Walden, who is also an honorary member for our foundation. I did a little bit of research about the company and the port. My father was the chief of commandment, they call it in French, commandment chef in Carthage, the whole north. And as I look, I saw the background. I had a chance because they have World Food Program as the business partners. So they do business with World Food Program, which is a huge contract. You don't get a contract with UN, which doesn't start with $500,000, it starts higher. And then World Food Program provides food for the whole entire Haiti, also during the hurricane, any crisis. So I don't know personally him, but I did a little bit of research deeply about it, why the port should be involved with, because there's a lot of crisis in Haiti, and to my knowledge, to my view, and I think they're good to do business with.
I would like to say thank you, Commissioner Jaquette, for coming to the Port of Palm Beach. I don't think I've seen you here.
I have, but not as often as I should be.
Right.
You'll be seeing
That's
me
my
more.
job.
Because I tell you, as I regroup this new term with my team, being one of the only freshmen who served on Ways and Means, being someone who was an economics major, and that's what my background is, finance and tax. Even though I'm a criminal defense attorney, Ways and Means was my committee. Transportation and Tourism Appropriation was my committee. Tourism and Gaming Policy, policy and appropriation for tourism was my committee, and I had the pleasure of sitting on our Tourist Development Council prior to going to the state. So you're right, you need to see me more here, and
Thank
you
you
will.
for coming, and any other comments from commissioners? We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes,
Commissioner?
definitely support it. As you know, I've been to St. Mark and employee. I've not been to this board, and I have been told it is the nicest in the board, and it's the very beautiful area. So we have numerous sister-to-sister relationships, but I want this to be a working relationship where it's mutually beneficial, where we go and we share and we learn from our brethren over there as well. So it needs to be back and forth, not just in paper. I want us to actually do something.
And Commissioner, thank you for saying that, and I don't want us to move on without really putting weight on that. I'm gonna count on you. I wasn't born in Haiti, and so you probably know more about Haiti than any one of us here because of the amount of, well, the language I can help you with. But as far as knowing what goes on there, you know quite a bit. And so this sister city, sister port relationship is about what you and your colleagues are gonna, and I'm glad you said it, you wanna see it be a working relationship. So now, one of the first things we wanna see is, we invite them over.
Yes.
Maybe we haven't done that with the
others.
others. This is the first step, inviting them over. Maybe we then wanna go over. And I think based on those two things, we're gonna develop and see things a lot more clearly, and we're gonna be working a lot harder than any other board that we have.
Normally, whenever we extend an invitation to assist support, we always have them to visit the port, we break bread together, get to know each other, and then we work from there on.
Looking forward to
So
this
thank you
one,
very much.
second
Do we have any more comments from
We have a
commissioners?
motion to approve it.
Second, we need a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Let's continue with the consent agenda. First, are there any items anyone would like to pull? I would like to pull F7 for discussion. Anyone would like to pull any more items? Okay, I need approval. All in favor, please say aye. All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Okay, I pull F7. First, we have the Caribbean American Community Environment, which is an outstanding group. But there was something about the price of the tickets, and I wanted us to come as a board and decide how we wanted to handle this. If we wanted to, we've always had an ad there for them. They're a good group. They do outstanding work in scholarship in other areas. And I wanted the board to decide what level of sponsorship do you think we should have for the group?
What have we done in the past?
We've always had that, but
I mean, is there a level name or we just put it out?
no, I mean, they changed it this year. They changed it. And do I have any comments
I don't
on?
even know what is it in there?
What is
Is it out in Royal Palm Beach?
It's in,
what is the issue specifically?
there's no issue. I wanted the board to decide on the level of ad this year we wanted to have.
What is
Because
being presented in the agenda?
in the
Is
agenda
there a banquet or
represented.
something?
No, hold on.
Some promotion.
It's a promotional ad, and I wanted the board to decide on the ad. Here it is. Okay. 7, right. And if you continue to go, and you see, it is on page, so I wanted the board to decide if we wanted to do it, and I would recommend, I think we should, and then the level. These are the.
So you're saying it above the thousand?
No, exactly what we want to do.
Oh, you meant whether we went for the ad?
No, the level of ad. If we want to do the outside cover for $650, the inside cover, the whatever, I felt that we need to make this decision as a group. Or if we want.
What's your suggestion?
I'll let you all make the decision. I'm
What are our
good.
choices? I don't even know where
The
that
choices,
is.
okay, now, let me go. Outside cover is $650. Inside cover, 8.5 by 11 is $600. The inside front cover is $600. A full page is $450. I think every year we've given them a full page, but it has gone up some. Something, a half a page is $250. And it is our regular ad with all the commissioners' names on the paper and after that. So before we make a decision like that, it will come from what, business development? I'm correct. I thought that the board should make that decision. Because I might get it.
I'm okay with the $1,000. Guys, this is the Caribbean group, we ship to the Caribbean. I'm okay with that.
You think that's fine?
Why don't we just do the bronze sponsorship
That's
for
$1,000.
You get 2 tickets, whoever wants to go can go, and you get a full
That's what
page
you
of that.
need.
Okay. And that will give us the inside. The $1,000 will give us the inside cover?
No, the bronze sponsorship is the first page.
Oh, you know about something that I didn't.
Bronze sponsorship.
See, I had this for the paper.
I move that we approve the bronze sponsorship.
Can I have a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Are you approving F7 in its entirety?
No, we
Is that-
No, just the Caribbean American for community environment.
Well, that's on F7 along
We
with.
just make a motion to
business
approve all of
development.
F7?
The sponsorship is $1,000, that's already notated on F7 if you look at it.
That is for one because all of them are individually.
But it's all
They're all
F7.
on the
So we can just make a motion to approve F7 and then just have one vote.
No, but I want to talk about the.
I mean, we need to talk about all the
So then we'll just
individuals.
do each head.
We have to take them one by one. So we said F7, the bronze, I still don't have that. I mean, I had $2,000. Now, let's go to the next item. So we're all in agreement with the $1,000. Okay, now the next item was, the MLK Coordinating Committee. The recommendation was that the Port of Palm Beach, it is through business development, purchase the inside cover for $300, and then, let's see this again, $300, and then if we would be kind enough and sponsor students to attend for $750. The MLK represents, they're students from different levels in Palm Beach County schools, and they do oratorio contests, they do dance, they come up with speeches, all sorts of things, and they participate. And most of the time, well, the majority of the time, there maybe about 10 or 15 students who attend because a lot of these kids are underprivileged, disadvantaged children, and they cannot afford to pay the fee. So what they've asked us, if we would be kind enough to sponsor students for $25, or get 30 students to attend the breakfast on Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, if the board approves. But this is for students, right, for students, not for
Because I
commissioners.
thought it said that we were approving the $1,050.
Right,
$300.
the 300 will be the
$300.
inside cover, as if the board approves. And the
That's fine with me.
students, the tickets are for students, not for us. And the board, if board commissioners would like to attend, then you provide a ticket from your community grants, and then that's about
I move
$45.
approval of the $1,050 for the MLK Junior Coordinating.
A second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The next item I wanted us to discuss was the 36th anniversary of the Business Development Board Gala. And the reason why it had to come forward tonight, at this meeting, is because there's a deadline. Normally in the past, the Port of Palm Beach, we've sponsored a table for Business Development Gala. This year, the tickets have gone up to $400. They're giving you a special at $3,900 a table for 10. And we had to discuss it tonight because there's a deadline after the 31st and the tickets go up to $450 and a table of 10 is $455. I guess the question I want to ask the board, do you think that we should invest and buy a table for $4,500 and for 10 people, or just have commissioners buy 2 tickets, or what's your preference?
Tickets only. Because
I-
I'm gonna be out of town, so
I want to bring this because in the past, sometimes you didn't have 10 people, we were trying to find folks, and so.
let's do tickets only.
We're in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of that? I need a second. I need a motion. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Yes. Now,
Commissioner, if we could, we would like to know how many of the commissioners will be going, so that we can go ahead and start and request the number, the tickets.
well, what I would like for them to do before that time, because we have to the 31st, if any commissioner would like to go, I think we need to just let them know.
What, you
Right, I think we need to just let them know,
What, you
whatever you need. And that's through business development, and that's it's easy, so that will give you time, because the deadline is the 31st, and we have time to meet. So I think we need to just let them know.
What, you
Right, if you just let them know, and then she would just purchase the 1 or 2 tickets, whatever you need. And that's through business development, and that's it's easy, so that will give you time, because the deadline is the 31st, and we have time to meet. So if you decide you want to. Any other questions, Commissioner? Let's go on to.
Commissioner, the G1 extended of the director's report. I'll start by giving you very good news. As you know by now, the city of Vero Beach unanimously approved the site plan during last night's council meeting. The next step, of course, will be the planning division to issue a building permit to the contractor, West Contractor. This site plan, of course, is for the MOB project. Jose, our engineer, and I will be monitoring the permit issuance until it's granted, even though I believe that it's going to be as soon as next week. We'll see to that. Any questions for that? I'll go on. Moving on to FDOT research project. 2 weeks ago, Doug Vaughn from Tropical Shipping, Carl Baker, and I met with Rick Farron of Trans Systems. For those of you who do not know, Trans System is an engineering company that conducts traffic analysis and studies for FDOT District 4. It's part of Trans System's continuing contract with FDOT. They will be performing a capability, capacity, and surface transportation network planning research project. The purpose of the study is to accurately forecast constraints, bottlenecks, and traffic flow issues in the community surrounding the Port of Palm Beach. The better news is that not only is the project going to be somewhere around $130,000, but this will not cost the Port of Palm Beach anything. Moving on to Florida State Transportation Economic Development Festival. The Port of Palm Beach submitted 2 grants requests last month as part of the FESTED project application cycle. The first request is for $1.5 million project, 50-50 match, for the annex property site improvements. Site improvements will include new landscaping, irrigation for the entrance and the west side. New water mains, fire hydrants, and security lighting will be installed. That's 1.5. The second grant that we requested is just literally a placeholder. This is a $2.25 million, again, 50-50 match, for the Peanut Island Area D mitigation project. The port has begun working with the Army Corps of Engineers on examining what will be required to clean up that area. That is on the southwest corner of Peanut Island. To increase, of course, the level of cruise ship navigational safety.
Andy, can you point that out?
Sure.
So we all know what
Area D is basically this triangular piece. And as you can see in the picture,
it is. Yeah.
how the ships cannot come in straight, they certainly have to go down and then back up. So cleaning that area would certainly enhance the navigational safety. However, I did learn that it is not, as has been portrayed to us, it is not just mud and sand. There are some really big rocks and other things that we weren't counting on in that area. So if we choose to proceed, we would have to work real closely with the Army Corps of Engineers and obviously the environmental concerns what we all have. One basic step would be that we would have to build a wall so that Pinker Island, where that portion doesn't cave in. So Jim Berry, remember that name? He suggested a wall right about here, not China wall, but those underwater pile, so that again it will hold the materials from collapsing right into the water.
No specific studies been done, but what's the environmental impact perceived? Maybe Jim Berry, have any thoughts about that? Or anybody, or do you guys have any?
We have not researched that aspect of it other than what in our big dredge plan. But that would have to be taken into consideration, the environmental impact of what would happen there and how it would impact the rest of the area. Jim Berry, great guy, he offered to volunteer basically to speak with us along with the Army Corps and the pilots. He said, all along, we have been hearing from the pilots, that, oh, that's just sand. It's not. We saw pictures, and believe me, it's not sand. There's more to it. There's boulders and huge amount of rocks.
How deep would you be going? Would they be going?
Well, it's not how deep, it's just cutting.
Clearing out?
Yeah, it's shaving off, if you can use that word, in order, dredging it so that the ship, again, can take more of a straight line docking path, rather than what they keep dredging, which is actually go down to the basin and come up, and then that's what you get the issue with the tropical ship.
Commissioner Halpern, Commissioner Richards.
Jim Berry is a well-known environmental figure in the county, and I'm sure he wouldn't propose something if it isn't economically and environmentally viable. But I think it might be helpful for the board if you asked him to attend one of the meetings so that he could explain it.
Absolutely.
Because he has that expertise, and there's a park named for him a few, half a mile north of us. So, but I mean, I think if you ask him, I think that he could address a lot of those concerns.
Absolutely. What I'd like to do is make sure that we have this money from the grant, and then we can proceed with sense.
Commissioner Richards.
I generally don't like making things complicated, but have we said go ahead and do that?
No, we're not. We just, preliminary phase.
Yeah.
Here's what happened, Commissioner.
No, if I may. I want to say the word, environmental. There may be environmental impact, and that's something that we really should talk about before we sign our name and say we want to go after it. We need to talk about that.
Right now, if I may, we're not asking to do anything.
If the money gets approved, it's going to be pretty hard.
We could always,
No, if the money gets approved, are we going to say we don't want to do it? Oh, the money's there, guys. I just think that's something we should be talking about before we go out and say, hey, we're requesting this money to do that. That's all.
Commissioner Richards, to solve your problem, I think that we need to have Mr. Jim Berry to come here and explain, because he is an environmentalist. He can go over things, and we can have other people to discuss it, and then go forth. But I think that we should not let the opportunity go by if we can receive these funds, and later on say, oh, we had it. But what I'm saying is that let them come, and then they can give us a presentation and tell us all about it and how we're going to protect the environment and still do what we need to do to make sure the ships can come in.
So I'd like to make sure that we have somebody here by the next
Right,
time to talk about
right. And we would extend an invitation to him.
For sure.
And- Right, and then September, then I think we should go for it. Okay, after we heard the presentation and then we'll talk about it, okay? All right. Yeah, discussion? Okay, go on.
If I could just clarify this one point. In the event that we are getting this grant, it's not uncommon for these grants to be moving between ports and ports. The fact that we have it puts us in a very good position. We can always exchange it for future, or we can apply that grant to something else. But I hear you 100%. We'll get Mr. Perry, if you can, to join us next month. All right, so then moving on to the port visit by Ambassador from Kosovo. The port received a visit back on July 31st from Ambassador of Kosovo by the name of Otto von Gegenblatt. I hope I pronounced it correctly. He has an interest in establishing a distribution center for wine and olive oil, the two most plentiful products from this region in Europe. The focus of his business plan is to utilize South Florida as a transshipment point to South and Central America as well as the Caribbean islands. Currently, his plan call for a 500-acre site out in the Blaze area, it's called that. He has had discussion with the mayor and the city manager of both Blaze. We plan to introduce him to Florida Sugar and talk to him about the Inland Port Commerce Park plan. So remember that Commissioner Gene Everett was gracious enough to join us, and he met the gentleman, and I thought his presentation was very well given and well received by us. Moving on to permits. Happy to mention that back on August the 1st, the City of Riviera Beach Council approved the business permit for Vertex. So we can take that one off our list. Items still outstanding as of August 6th, the air conditioning permit for CBP area in the NOC, 3rd floor. That since has been approved. Oceanics property rezoning, we should receive status in late September. And the two permits regarding the MOB, as I mentioned, the site plan was approved at last night's dinner, at last night's meeting. From the railroad department, this past week, the Port of Palm Beach Railroad Department was audited by the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA. This was a 3-day process inspecting all areas of the operation and paperwork. I'm very happy to mention that Al's group did not find any policy violation. Congratulations. Yesterday afternoon, Commissioners, we had a guest group. The port hosted the monthly meeting of the Florida chapter of Women's International Shipping and Trading Association, WISTA, in our boardroom. Bahamas Celebration, Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line hosted a reception aboard Grand Classica prior to the meeting. Normally, I'll be going to events, but there's something that we need to make you aware of. This was just given to me by Richard Pinsky. There is going to be a regular board meeting for peers tomorrow. Mr. Stan Payne, the director of the Ports and Airport Air and Sea, is going to be requesting to have their own FTZ designation. If you recall, they are under our designation, but it is now Stan Payne's willingness to ask their board to develop their own. Richard, you know a little bit more than I do about this, because none of us knew about it. And think we have too much business up there, Jared, do we? Right. So just to give you an indication of how Fort Pierce is starting to branch out and expand a little bit. So that's just FYI, commissioners. If there's any questions, if not, I'm gonna go right into the events. Of course, recently had the Tour Club of Palm Beaches, August 10th. We have the Port of Palm Beach Benefit Fair, that will be here, August 30th. South Florida Council Annual Board Meeting, I will be attending that in St. Petersburg between September 5th and 6th. The AAPA Energy Environmental Seminar, Jersey City, September 11th and 12th. Of course, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is having their job fair September 27th. The previously mentioned Business Development Board 36th Annual Gala, September the 29th. And those of you who will be attending, don't forget, the AAPA 107th Annual Convention in Valparaiso, Chile. That's right on the corner. It's October 7th through the 10th. Commissioners, I'll be more than glad to answer any questions.
Is the AAPA for next year's development funds or this year?
Yes, it is.
Next year?
Because it's
Yes,
October.
the charge will be to next year's budget.
I need to-
Oh. You're not-
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Thank you.
Detail engineer.
I have a
Is there anyone? I have, G1.
G1, G2, J,
G1, executive report.
your board, 2135 Broadway. I am pleased to see that Commissioner Richards led into the first of two items that are on the backup for the ED's report. They were the two grant applications. The normal practice of most governments is to bring those to the board such that the public would know that you were making them, and that gives us the opportunity to have input in them. The first one sounds just like a landscaping job with some minor amount of infrastructure. I really don't think that as a prime port project. Number two is the one that gets my attention more than anything. You've heard me talk about use of the $80 million of the federal authorization, which has been languished and very little effort put forth. Area D is an area where we started out in a January and the Corps wanted 2 years to do their environmental impact statement. They took 5 years and we didn't supervise them for that. But the whole point is they should have done it in a year, but regardless, Congress has approved that environmental impact statement. Area D is in that. There is substantial authorization to get with the dredging of that. I did the Turning Basin Extension Phase 1 in 1974-75, and I will tell you that particular protrusion is fed by Peanut Island, which is basically a spoil disposal area. So we definitely don't have substantial environmental impacts, but you do have a document that's yay thick, taking 5 years by the Corps to immediately refer to as your Bible for permitting on issues of that nature. So I am very upset that we want $2.25 billion as match money for something that doesn't necessarily, when you go into it, you can do an evaluation with the permit for dredging it to the project depth of the harbor. So I think we got the cart before the horse without bringing it to you first, and so we get it simplified, and I certainly expect that money to be used for the dredging, physical removal of material versus quote mitigation.
Thank you. G2?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I present you the new report for the projects reviewed in the report. I will start off with verse 17. So today, the contractor already completed the construction of the west and the middle docking structure. structure require additional concrete repairs, which the contractor already started this week. In the east of this structure, the 2 additional piles that were required are already installed and are already being approved by the engineer operator AECOM. The contractor already started with the fabrications of the supports for installation of the forms, and we continue with installation of the rebar and after that, concrete pouring of the surface. On the left-hand side, the contractor already graded and compacted the area below the conveyor system. That area is going to be casted as an 8-inch concrete slab. It's going to be divided in 3 pours, which is going to be performed this week. On the upland side, all the area has been backfilled and compacted with super material, and right after the concrete slab is casted below the conveyor system, they will begin with the subgrade and asphalt pavement, which will complete all the upland subgrades. On the bulkhead, the electrical contractor already started with installation of the equipment for the shore power station. In terms of the schedule, as of today, the contractor still indicates that the project will be substantially completed by September 15 and finally completed by October 12. Based on October 2nd. Based on the 2-week look ahead submitted this week, if the contractor receive approval to move forward with the construction of the east-opening structure by Tuesday, they will continue to work towards those days. They receive approval, so far the days are established have been held so far. Do you have any additional questions related to presenting? MOB, as the Executive Director already indicated, last night the City Council approved the resolution for the site plan application submitted to the city. We're expecting the city staff to issue the building permit to the contractor next week, and the board already continue with the execution of the contract with West Construction, which was the company that was selected as the awarded contractor for the construction of the project. So we expect the project to move forward as soon as we receive the building permit. We're project, the contractor, Gonzalez and Son, already completed this spur number 1 and second number 2. Installation of the new rail. This week, the electrical inspector from the city provided a certification of all electrical work performed at the project, and we received the FPNL installed the completed installation, the connection of the electrical system, and installed the meter for the equipment. Next week on Wednesday, the contractor will come in to do the commissioning and the installation of the signaling at the crossing, and we will also have the training for the rail personnel on how to work and handle the signal. First one, the status of the request for qualification documents to request firms to submit professional engineering services for the design, building services, and construction services for the Berth 1 improvement is already being on review. Hopefully by tomorrow we get the final draft. It's already being discussed between myself and board attorney. So as soon as the document is finalized, we'll go out for bids. The document was already approved by the board to go out for advertise as soon as the document is completed. In terms of the core mitigation that is required for the FDEP and the Army Corps of Engineers, the board already approved an interlocal agreement with the town of Palm Beach, and the town of Palm Beach already started coordination with the contracting company, which will perform the transportation of the corals. Luckily this month the water is too hot, so it's not the best condition for transportation. So right now the schedule is to perform the irrigation and transplantation of the corals in the month of November and December. The transplantation will not affect the construction of the project since it's already scheduled to begin in April 2019. Now we'll cover the 4 projects that have been
substantial completion by September 15th. I would like them to come to the podium and take that to the record.
Mr. Capasso?
John Paso with LMH. Yeah, I concur with what Jose just reported. Things are going well. And we'll be out there every Saturday. So we're looking to get it done, working 6 days a week, as many hours as we can. So we're confident it's all coming together.
Thank you.
Sharon?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, based on the current schedule, there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to be completed during that time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, let's go on. Government Affairs Report, G3. Oh, I'm sorry, I do have a problem from Mr. Ward.
Gerald Ward, 2135 Broadway. Obviously, we're now over a year late on verse 17. The tariffs revenues lost on this project for way over a year excess in completion of the project have to be substantial. And we do know from this word on the street that various people have had to be delayed and moved around in the port because of, well, you had success. And just as an aside, I got an email two days ago that said the ship right there was sailed on by us in a national-wide publication, and they were just ecstatic over the food, the hospitality service that they encountered, and then they evaluated the Freeport ferry locations as to overnight or extended stays. So you've got something doing good and getting good national publicity. But back on verse 17, you had and paid for extra services when you bid the contract with bonding. You put in play an extra consultant to take care of problems. I don't see or hear that you've done a lot of discussion about what the bonding company did for you during this excessive delay. Sometime along the road, you need to get your organization so that you do look at what you pay for and get those services early on when delays happen. 3 months delay would have been excessive.
Thank you. Let's continue. I'm sorry, Mr. Pinsky, G3, please.
And what he provided, I read regarding Fort Pierce.
Let's continue. G4, Commissioners Report, Ms. Walker, you have anything?
Just that, with regard to the Commerce Park, I knew that we're gonna hopefully have a meeting with the honorary ambassador, whose name will not attempt to pronounce.
Yes.
And a couple Sundays ago, I was invited out to, by the mayors of the Glades, to go to, we went to 6 churches. It was the first Sunday of the month. I was able to speak for a couple minutes in front of all the commissioners about the Commerce Park. So just to get the community outreach out there. It was very well received.
Okay. Commissioner McCollum? Thank you. Let's continue. New business, H1.
We did that.
We did that. We are H2 now. District report, rate share.
With the board's indulgence, I will sit down to present the item, the freight tariffs. Public hearings were held on July 3rd. Public hearings were heard on July 30, 2018, and July 10th to discuss the proposed tariff with our tenants. Their comments were heard, taken into consideration. The tariff, as being presented to you, will generate $135,000 of additional funds from our tenants and users, and approximately $196,000 for parking. I would like to point out, though, however, that the more contracts we have, the more that increases are built into the contracts. So the $135,000 is dwarfed by the $420,000 of additional revenue we're getting for increases that are in our contracts that are not related to the contract. So I didn't want that small number to be of any concern. I I'm going to start out by saying that there are going to be quite a number of slides. I'm obligated to, but I will go through them very quickly. On the very first one, we're establishing a temporary staging area. In fact, we're establishing two. This is to keep certain docks from congestion and to ensure that vessels can be loaded expeditiously and unloaded quickly as well. And the staging area must be in less than 24 hours and is not subject to free time. I will point those out in 1 minute. The bottom up drawing just simply says that if you recall back in 2001, we renumbered our slips. There's now a reference in the tariff as to what the old numbers were. Some of our older documents are confusing. This is a schematic of our docks, the two blue areas, purple, whatever, I'm a little colorblind. Those are the areas that will be not available. They're only available for 24-hour staging. So you can see the bulk of it is down where slip berth 17 is. It's a narrow area. You cannot have cargo there blocking access to the berth that is not going to be going on a vessel within 24 hours. We just wanted that clear in the tariff. The majority of the rates were increased by 1 1/2%, rounded to the nearest penny. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through the rates. With respect to dockage rates, commercial, cruise, and military apply to the guideline. Again, just to be repetitive with the last time, it's either 1.5% rounded to the nearest penny. Yachts, we went to 1.5% at a flat rate for the day rather than an hourly. Lay-in vessels, again, the guidelines. The line handling was increased to represent the increase in port wages. We are increasing the wages to our employees. Therefore, when they call out to do services for our tenants, we want to recover the wages. Harbor master fees up 1.5%. Stevedore licensing, there was an analysis done to look at the cost of our licensing as compared to other South Florida ports. There was an inconsistency. This is an effort to close the gap. As such, Stevedore licensing will increase by $1,000. Steamship licensing will increase by $1,000. Those are annual charges to our tenants. Other licensing, again, they were looked at in comparison, and they were brought in to be competitive with the South Florida ports. These are minor revenue items and minor expenses to our tenants. In permitting, there have been some significant changes. Basically, 4 things. 1, if our tenants do work without applying for a permit, which has to be through our port engineer, there is a $1,000 flat penalty. We need to know what's going on in the port, and we can't find out later. Permits that require the City of River Ridge approval are now going to cost $500 rather than $200. There's a considerable amount of work by our port engineer working with the city to get these work done. However, that includes not only the initial review, 1 free second review for minor changes, and final review of plans. If there are any additional reviews above those 3, there will be a charge of 50% of the fee. So we're trying to work more expeditiously and have the tenants come to us with as final drawings. Fireworks are now included in item 470, that we build at a minimum of $5,000. And again, fireworks are not to be permitted to be wired at the port or opened at the port. Potable water up 1%, 1.5% from the city. Cleanup, we had a charge of $100 in there, a minimum charge of $100 if tenants used a part of the property and did not clean it when they left. We're raising that to $500. It needs to be punitive, not a business choice. We're not here to provide cleanup services. They should be doing it. Cargo terminal operating fee, again, guidelines. Security badging, up minimal, $20, again. Bunkering, as it was now, bunkering was rebuild every truck, $40. The trucks come in with about 7,500 gallons. That's about 1/2 cent a gallon. It was very difficult, if at all possible, to follow these trucks in the port, especially when they were filling at the port and not passing the gates. We're implementing a policy whereby we will charge the recipient 1/2 of 1 cent per gallon for the bunkering, and that covers the cost. This item is still under discussion with one of our tenants, and to make you aware, we may be coming back. If you approve this tariff, depending on those discussions, this one item might be coming back with some changes. It's revenue neutral to the port. It's simply a procedure to make sure that we capture every dollar that we're owed. Wharfage and security fees at the bottom, again, 1 and 1.5%. Dive boat operations, we're looking to get at least 24 hours notice, so that fee is going to increase to 100. Anything less than that is going to be increased to 150. Storage rates, demurrage on containers, the first 3 items, all 1 and 1.5%. On the bottom, we get to automobiles, vehicles. We've increased these rates to represent the disparity between the space these things use, they can't be stacked, and the revenue that the port is looking for by acre. It is a very space hog type of a commodity. The rates are going up slightly just to help the port meet its revenue objectives. The same thing holds true with buses and mobiles. Again, they're a little bit more than 1 and 1.5%. We're trying to recover our revenue gap of the type of material it is. Getting into dry bulk cargo, liquid cargo, all of these are 1 and 1.5%. I am not going to go through them. Break bulk items are all 1 and 1.5%. And minimum billing has gone up, is raised, similar with respect to other vehicle increases on trailers. Do you have any questions? Rail tariff, I have to go through to let you know there were absolutely no changes to the rail tariff, with one exception. It included some references to increases in prior years. We cleaned those out. Done. I apologize for the length. It was necessary. Any questions?
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Excellent job, well done.
I was here that I didn't know.
H3? Oh. H3, I'm sorry.
Commissioners, good afternoon. Carl Baker, Director of Planning. This is a supplemental grant from Florida Department of Transportation. I was up here 2 months ago when we were talking about capital projects and mentioned then. We have received the SJPA. It's for $8,675,158. That DOT has been very good to us. Of course, like all other FDOT grants, this is a 50-50 match. So we're going to be required to come up with about $4.337 million over the next 5 years. And Commissioner Sicklin, and to advance on your question that you're going to ask, does Mr. Zielinski have this amount of money right now? The answer is no, he does not. But we're not required, we don't need to have it right now because this has got a 5-year lifespan. And at the end of that 5 years, if we have a little money left to spend, we can write a letter to FDOT and they will extend the grant.
And where is that going? Where would this expansion?
Currently, we've worked on this section right here. What we're looking to do, we've come up to here, what we're looking to do now is start replacing all of these switches, which are on a per foot basis. That's where the money goes. It's not the rail, it's the switches. And over time, we're just going to start working our way down the docks. Now, this study that Trans Systems is going to be doing will help determine some of what we'll be doing in the future. They've already done one rail study for us last year, so we've got a lot of data, and there's still some big decisions on, as you've said in the past, what do we want to be when we grow up? But we've got some time to work on this. So we are requesting that the board approve this SJPA number 4 with FDOT and adopt the corresponding resolution.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. H4?
H4 is the consideration and selection of group health providers. We're recommending that we stay with United Healthcare and that we stay with all of our other providers. The increase of all of these policies, the cost is $62,000. You saw that it was all part of the budget presentation. And speaking with Cliff between meetings, The recommendation would be that we would continue and authorize ourselves to go with United Healthcare now with, and I'm going to ask Cliff to come up and validate this, but changing the policy to allow to include an opt-out option within the policy, with the board understanding that implementation of such a procedure is challenging at best from an administrative employee, and we will do our best to get it implemented sometime during the coming year. But the policy will give us that option. Cliff?
Yes.
It's done, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Go ahead,
okay.
your discussion.
Cliff, I'd just like to compliment you on your wardrobe today. Thank you.
Well, I just would like to say, we appreciate your services, and you have worked so hard over the years to make sure that we've gotten the best, insurance in the whole county, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For the president, all in favor, please say aye.
I just would
Yes.
like to make sure that the board wishes to appoint Cliff Gehring Insurance to be the record of broker to get our group insurance for 2020.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
That's for both.
That's for both, or we need to do them separately, or what? Because we
I
had a
think it's all-
motion.
I just wanted to make sure that you understood that
Right.
your approval included that. That's all.
Okay, included both. Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We look forward to continue working with you, Mr. Gehring. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
General insurance, renewal and purchase H5. All general insurance needs, including all of our coverage, is secured through our broker of record, USA Services, which was appointed in 2018 to provide insurance for the port for 2018-2019, with our preferred government insurance agreeing to hold the cost of policies for 2 years. This is the second year of that agreement that those policies have been held. All of the ancillary policies represent an increase of about 18% in premiums. The ones that are not covered by Pigeon, which is 3% increase, $18,454. I would like to point out, and with again apologies if the financial impact has been misstated, it's not going to be $18,000, it's going to be $23,000. The reason why there's a difference, we bill out the coverage to our tenants, and based upon who's here, who's not here, and some increases that we've had, there'll be a slight increase in the amount of the premium that we have to retain ourselves. It'll be about $23,000. With that said, I'd like the board's approval to purchase the policies that we mentioned, authorize the executive director to execute, and ask for the board to approve or provide direction on USA Insurance Services as the board's appointed broker of record for 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Question.
Discussion.
Paul, on the, when the MOB goes down, does it affect the coverage at all?
We've already taken the insurance off of it.
Oh,
If it
so-
fell down, it'd just save us money on the demolition. We have liability if anybody gets
Right.
hurt.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. A6 that we have. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I1, Mr. Peanut Island. Is that the next one in your calendar? Yep. Okay.
Peanut Island.
Sure, thank you. Commissioners, I demonstrated and have communicated to you the updates on our steering committee meeting. There will be a meeting coming up on August the 23rd. Pretty much of waiting for that particular meeting so that we can get some input back from the Parks and Recs Director, Mr. Eric Call. In the meantime, I thought it would be prudent and actually very happy that she agreed, and this is Karen Marcus, to be with us, and she more allows her to come up, and maybe she will be able to provide you with additional either clarification or updates as it relates to Peanut Island. With that, Ms. Marcus, if you could.
Thank you and good afternoon. Before before I get on to the Peanut Island, and I volunteered to Annie to come tonight just to sort of update you the steering committee's activities. I did want to speak to the question about the Area D and the application of the grant. Jim Berry, just because he's not here, he volunteered to do that because he wanted the board to know what's down there. And even though there's rocks down there, there's also sponges, there's seagrass, there's fisheries. So he's not supporting the project or anything like that. He was just trying to be helpful. He went out and dove it, did the dive for it, and he showed pictures. He had pictures for it. So I appreciate your question. I have talked to Keith Beatty from the Save Our Ender Coalition. They are somewhat aware of this, but I think before you move forward, you might want to speak to some of your other stakeholders so that you don't get any concerns about anything like that. So I wanted to speak to that because Jim's not here. I was at the meeting where Jim showed the pictures, so we saw everything that was there. And again, he volunteered to do it because he knows the area very well.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yes. He's not here, I figured I'd better. So on the Peanut Island bunker, it's a three-party, I think Manny and Eric Hall decided they wanted to get a few people together who know how to navigate the county and can help with the county commission on reaching some kind of an agreement for the bunker and also the Coast Guard station to redo it. And so we had the FIND representative at the last steering committee meeting, and she advised that we could not, FIND could give money to the port, you could be the applicant, but it was a very limited resource for the port, that the application, if it was made by the county, there would be more money available, but they would require a 25-year lease with the county before we could make the application for the funds. We agreed, and Eric Hall is in the process of putting together a draft MOU that we're going to look at next week, which talks about whatever the parameters he thinks the county might, need to be able to enter into a 25-year agreement. And so we're going to talk about that, and if there's some agreement, then I believe Manny will bring it to you for you to see, and then Eric would bring it to the county commission. The commission's concerns, and I know Commissioner MacArthur is aware of this, is the operating dollars down the road. I think part of our discussion has been how do we come up with operating dollars that doesn't affect the county's budget in a significant way. But the first thing we have to do is fix it up. The fine grants are in January. We'd like to be in a position to make the grant application in January so we can get this started. And so that's really what the goal on this group is, really just myself and Manny and Eric Hall and some of his staff. And then also Eric asked for the two commissioners to allow for two people, the two county commissioners that represent Peanut Island, both Commissioner Bernard and Commissioner Valachet. So you have Chuck Collins for Commissioner Valachet, and you have Jim Berry for Commissioner Bernard. So we've been meeting, trying to come up with how to move forward on the MOU so they can talk to those county commissioners as the district commissioners and hopefully get their support to move forward. So that was really the only reason I thought I'd come by tonight and share with you and give you an update. It is moving. And again, we will be meeting to produce some kind of an MOU so that you can see it and then the county commission can see it. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I just have one question. You mentioned 25 years. Is that a set
Yes.
years? Maybe not 10 or 20 years? And I ask that because when you have long-term agreements like that, so many things happen over the years, and then like before we were in a contract, there was so many years and we were just waiting and things didn't. So I'm just concerned about the length of time, that's all. I just have a concern.
It's a fine requirement in order for them to give any amount of a grant. And you can apply for a grant, I think the grant that we're looking for, and then we have to find matching funds from some other entity, but that's a fine requirement. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a big, deep breath for the county, too, because it's a commitment they're going to make for 25 years. But when everybody steps back and looks at Peanut Island and sees the bunker as part of the island, it really belongs to a part of the park system, but we just need to get there the right way. But it is an FID requirement.
Okay.
So, if it was 10, I think we'd be happy with 10.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Continue. Mr. Gerald.
Gerald Ward, 2135 Broadway. Obviously, Peanut Island is a port material management disposal area. That's your prime purpose. Your other purposes are for port operations of hopefully some revenue producing. The Corps of Engineer environmental impact statement came in with certain lettered operations, of which parcel D or area D was a significant removal, and there can be port revenue producing wharfs and other facilities that you don't have to have something that is considered a pollution source. It may be just a lane berth to accommodate the congestion that is talked about earlier today at the rest of the port facility. So the first issue I had was the initial meeting. I was told by 2 port employees that it was not a public meeting. I don't see that. Now, obviously, you added 2 additional folks, an ex-Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission district commander here in Palm Beach County, and you added James J. Berry III. Jim Berry is probably the most notable biologist and knowledgeable biologist that you can find for the Lake Worth Lagoon. He started out in the 60s working for the state, the Board of Conservation, and he probably has walked, at that time, the port had not accomplished the dredging for the inlet, so the port tide range was only 1.2 feet. So he walked much of the shallow areas of the lake and has a great knowledge of that. He's a good resource for the steering committee, but you finally are getting to the adding various people. You need a couple maritime people on that committee before you come back. Although the limit of what the agenda item says, it's a plan for future use of the former U.S. Coast Guard building at Peanut Island. It really should be a future use of the port ownerships of Peanut Island, not just the limitation of the agenda item. So to conclude, you need to make this meeting much more productive and see to it that there are all ideas involved in it versus what started out as a funding meeting. Now let's get 4 people, 3 government employees, 1 lobbyist, and find out how we can get money so the port doesn't pay for it. The port needs to be involved in a continuous basis, and the 25 years is not at all unreasonable because that agreement is going to have some requirements to make sure that the Gerald Management Disposal Area of Fine to the north is fully accessible by the ramp and travel way.
Mr. Ward, agree with you, but let's make sure the port doesn't pay for it.
I think the port has revenue production, and you can have revenue production out of the material management disposal area that's had very little maintenance since it was, we got the pine trees down.
Thank you. Thank you very much. H5, please. I2.
Approval of Painted Island Irrigation, Councilman and Lyle Brothers.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I3, award of RFP food service vendors, old school food services.
Let's go back, before you go to that, I just want to make a comment. I know we approved it, but Mr. Mayor, is that in our budget for irrigation? I2?
Well, it would come under renewal and replacement, so, yeah, we still have money there, so that shouldn't be a problem.
And we have enough money to pay for that?
30,000.
Okay, yeah, 30,000? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, go on, sir.
Item 8I3, award of RFP for food service vendors, Old Food School. At the commission meeting in April 18, 2018, board staff requested and received approval to conduct a request for proposals for food service vendors. The RFP was advertised in the Palm Beach Post and on the board's website. A pre-proposal meeting was conducted on June 12th with Cafe Hub and Old School Food Services in attendance. All RFPs were required to be submitted to the port on June 26th by 2 p.m. Only one proposal was submitted by Old School Foods. This proposal identifies a 5% monthly gross sales to the port. being reviewed every 3 months for the first year. Should business be successful, the gross revenue share goal will reach 10 to 15%. Board staff respectfully request the commissioners to award the food service provider contract to Old School Food Service and authorize the executive director to execute all documents.
So moved.
Discussion,
Question,
Mr.
is this like a food truck or how do we work? Do they set up?
Actually, he has an amazing breakfast burrito that I would recommend to
That's my second question. I figured you already tasted it.
Actually, he's here if you'd like to speak to him.
Yeah, let him come up. Yeah, well, since he's gonna be part of the board. Tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Nick with Old School Food Service. Thank you for this opportunity. It's going to be exciting working together with you. But basically, I cook everything: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We get comfort food. We get food made for efficiency. We get the food made for salubrious eaters, salads and whatnot. The answer is yes. What was the question? So,
Is it on like a food truck or is it, where do you actually?
it's a food truck. It's a trailer. It's actually a 20-foot trailer staffed for a full kitchen. I can fit 6 people in there at any given time. It's made for mass production.
And where do you serve now out of? Where would we find you?
He's over in the port area right now.
Oh,
Yes. I'm in the cargo area.
You're right here.
Yeah, right at that stop sign.
Great.
And what we're looking to do, commissioners, is expand them out and bring them over by the terminal to assist with the passengers and workers within the terminal.
So far, yeah, I've been working with the truckers and the port side employees. I plan on bringing those sales with me. Everybody has access. Those who do not, the truckers, I will implement a system to get food to them.
Nice. Great. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Enright has stepped out. Do we have a motion and a second? All those in favor? All opposed?
I did tell him he would be judged on his Cuban sandwiches.
Approved 4-0 with Chair Enright out of the room.
Comments from the public? Mr. Ward?
Your Lord, 2135 Broadway, a great city of Riviera Beach. Does a lot better than the media would suggest. You just don't get the other side of the story out there. Succession and reorganization. I missed the workshop at 1500 today because of the way your agenda process and notifications put up. But I would suggest that you take a look at going to something that the other identical districts did when its life, it was chartered the same day as this district in 1915. And it had a district engineer. You have now grown or changed or expanded to have 4 consultants that are currently working, major consultants. They also have sub-consultants oftentimes, but the port really needs a district engineer. You have a staff engineer, but in that terminology alone, many of the decisions come first back to you and then trickle down for implementation by the staff. And it worked very well where there is no finger pointing between consultants. There's no concerns because there's one guy that's got the engineering solutions or responsibilities. So think about that. Now, the best thing I heard for suggestions was a year ago or so when one of the commissioners made the point of succession. Oftentimes you find that when you come around here, if the guy is gone, well, he's off for X, Y, or Z, and can you wait till next week when he's back or she's back? So you really need to see to it that there is always a second in command when the first is gone, if you have that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ward. We need to, commissioners, before I ask for comments, come up with a date for Granis's training. You would like to explain what's required of us? Granis's training, the clerk will explain.
You study village, Granite,
I would like you to explain exactly what you would like to do.
It's our new agenda management system. Staff has been trained, so all the commissioners have to be trained to be able to use the system to access the agenda. And right now, you've been using the website, but you'll be using Granicus starting next commission meeting. So we'd like to schedule a training. It's gonna be at your desk, or you can also come in. It's gonna be a go-to meeting, and a Granicus representative will, run the meeting basically, and you'll be able to ask questions, and they'll be able to navigate so that you can see exactly.
We'll have to do this individually, we don't have to do it in groups, right?
It's gonna be in a group.
Wouldn't it have to be public notice with all the commissioners?
Well, it's a training session for Granicus, but
No, maybe,
Would you-
yeah. No decision.
it's no decision.
We just need to discuss important business, right?
And we can ask questions about the
Yeah,
training.
it's just a training session for the agenda
And
management.
so we all have to come up with the same, how much time is required of this training?
It
10
depends
minutes,
on
30 minutes?
how well you understand it. and navigate it.
How long did it take you?
It's an hour for us.
Hour
Okay,
for
2
hour.
hours for us.
Why don't we do it before the next meeting? We're never gonna get everybody here.
We do the same at 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Before the next meeting?
Well,
Yeah.
we also have to have an executive session for the next meeting. That's what you said.
Yes.
Executive session is
At 4 o'clock.
I'm not here afraid.
I have to check with Granicus to make sure that's,
So it's before the next meeting, questions, comments from the commissioners, we'll start here, Mr. Sippin. Mr. McCarthy? Mr. Richards? Commissioner Morgan? Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be held, I have no comments, but I would just like to, state that we will, our next meeting will be, September 20th, followed by, at 4 o'clock start, following September 20th, and then, we need an executive session, right, Mr. Dickens? Executive session already also. So we will start at 3 o'clock for the workshop with Granicus, followed by a 4 o'clock meeting, followed by an executive session at 4 o'clock, then followed by a meeting. Is that it?
No, is there not a holiday, religious
I
holiday?
did explain that, and they said that it's fine.
Yes.
They said-
September 20th?
No, it's afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
We had to